So greetings and welcome to another segment of Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman. My name is Peter Updike, and this is the Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman YouTube channel. Real quickly now, before we get underway here with the video, I'm going to send out 3 copies of my book, Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman, to people that asked for a copy on the last video. Those are going to be the last copies that I give out until after Christmas. I'm going to encourage you to go to Pat's Pawn and Gun website, click on publications, and my book will come up. If you're interested in sending someone a copy of my book, Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman, as a Christmas present, well, I'd be eternally grateful. I've got a lot of copies here. I like to move them before I pass on to the next life. And yeah, I got a lot of them. So I'm really enjoying the YouTube channel. I'm doing it. You know by now that I'm not in this just to sell books. I just happened to write a book and happened to call the YouTube channel Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman. It all just kind of came together. It's really nothing that I intended to do, but it's all working out. I'm really enjoying promoting the book. I'm really enjoying giving a few copies away. And yeah, if you sent me an email last video, I'm going to pick 3 of you and send out 3 copies, okay? So be looking. I'm going to respond. I haven't responded to any of the emails yet, but I'm planning on responding. And I want to thank you for being a part and contributing with your attention and your comments and your interest in what I do and what the Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman YouTube channel is all about. What's it about? It's about hunting public land. It's about deer hunting, turkey hunting, hog hunting. Every now and then we go fishing, and yeah, it's a YouTube channel. It's a hunting and fishing YouTube channel where we don't go hunting and fishing. What we do is we talk about it. We're going to talk about coyotes tonight. We're going to talk about the lifestyle of a coyote. Have you ever seen one? Have you ever shot one? What are your feelings on coyotes? We're going to talk about that. I got a little slideshow coming up, and yeah, we're going to talk about coyotes, and I'm going to give you my perspective on a coyote. I only shot 1 coyote in my whole life. I had an opportunity to shoot a few of them, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm going to share with you my thoughts on coyotes, and hey, I kind of like them. I'll be back with you in just a minute. So yeah, what you just saw there was a little reel of the coyote that I shot. I was hunting down in the green swamp. Now, if you hunt coyotes and you want to shoot a coyote, you have the green light from me to do so, okay? Don't let my influence challenge you in any shape, way, or form. If you feel like you want to shoot a coyote, well, they're legal. You can shoot them all day long, okay? If you hunt coyotes, if you call to them, if you shine them at night from a cow pasture and you're into doing that sort of thing, yeah, go for it, man. I give you all rights to do it, right? But my perspective is a little different. But I shot that coyote down in the green swamp about 30 years ago. It's the only coyote I ever shot. I was sitting in my tree stand watching a tie swamp on private land, right? And there were some deer in there, and I heard some quail calling, and this old coyote came out and stood within rifle range, his muzzleloader rifle range. I shot that coyote with my muzzleloader and killed him dead. And yeah, after I shot it, my first thought was, why do I think I have to do that? I enjoyed, you know, the accomplishment and the hunt and all of those things, but I skinned that thing out, and you saw in the slideshow the display I have of that coyote, and yeah, it was a pretty cool experience, but it's not one that I'm really thinking I'm ever going to repeat, and here's why. I was down at the big Buckarama show a few years back, and I was in a little forum there. We were talking about bear hunting. I was sitting next to a biologist with the FWC. And I struck up a conversation with him. We were taking a little break from the seminar. And I struck up a conversation with him about coyotes. And he went on to tell me how they kind of made their way east and down here to the south, that they weren't native to the area, and they came from the south. He actually told me that he thought maybe that they crossed over with the introduction of interstate highways and bridges. And it took, a good 100 years for that to happen, that once they started crossing those bridges over those big rivers like the Mississippi, that they were able to make their way east on land bridges. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And I thought, well, a lot of people shoot those coyotes, and I've killed one, and I skinned it, and I've got its hide here in the studio. But I told him, I said, let me share my thoughts with coyote control, all right? That if we as hunters sell ourselves and promote ourselves as being conservationists, the whole idea of conservation and hunting is to control and manage numbers. That we consider, especially here in Florida, we have low deer numbers here in Florida. But in response to that, the result of low deer numbers is a healthy deer herd. And I believe that to be true. I believe the low deer numbers in Ocala and the Green Swamp promote a healthy deer herd, and eventually a good buck every now and then. I've got a couple of them. I believe it to be true. Sure, I like to hunt where there are more deer. I like to see 10 deer every time I go hunting. I've been up to Georgia and Alabama and other places where they have a lot of deer, where if you're talking about deer here, you're talking about maybe 10 deer per square mile, 15 if you're lucky, right? Where some places have 30, 40, even 50 and more deer per square mile. And you see a lot of states have trouble with their deer herd. They got deflankety horns. They've got all kinds of disease and inbreeding and starvation in the wintertime. All these problems arise, and of course we as hunters say we're controlling the numbers. We're shooting our share of does, and we're taking advantage of a healthy deer herd by taking our does and we're putting them in our freezer. And we're doing quality deer management, all right? And I'm right on the same page there with you. So my thought process when it came to the coyote. Now I had coyotes here where I live. I've seen them. I know they were here. But something happened. They just disappeared. I killed a hog 25 years ago and drugged that thing down in the swamp. And when I came home from lunch, I stepped out on my back porch and walked down there to some buzzards, and there were half a dozen coyotes on that hog carcass. All it was rib cage and hide and a head, right? But there were coyotes there, and then I got accustomed to hearing them, and every time I'd hear a siren coming down the road, I would step out and listen for the coyotes, and I could hear one over here and hear one over here and hear one over here. So there were coyotes here, but there aren't any coyotes here now. And I know that nobody hunts them. Nobody's shooting them here. And I have to ask the question, what happened? So as coyote numbers go up, and if we were hunting coyotes, that is to manage them in such a way to control the pack, all right? That we don't want them depredating our fawns, our small turkeys, our pets, our calves. The list goes on and on. We need to control their numbers. So we set up a program where we go out and we shoot coyotes. And I really think that if we do that, we are contributing to their survival. Why? Because it's the same theory or hypothesis that controlling the numbers makes for a healthy deer herd. Controlling the numbers makes for a healthy coyote pack. Coyotes are very social, right? They're very social, where deer not so much. Deer not so much. That maybe in the fall they get the rut, the bucks are on the move, and they're looking for does, and there's nothing going to stop them from finding their prize, right? And then when they're done with that, they are done, right? They when summertime, springtime rolls around, they group back up in their little bachelor groups and do their thing. And then the family units of does, they go off and do their thing, and they break up into little groups. But coyotes don't. Coyotes enjoy the pack, and they enjoy sharing everything. They share, they regurgitate their kill and feed their pups, right? And they share their food, and they socialize and inbreed and don't care. What is the result of that? The result of that, in my opinion, is disease. Heartworms, parvo, rabies, all of these things that dogs get, coyotes get too. Socializing and passing on that disease to each other, thus doing irreparable damage to the pack. If we shoot them and the pack is left small, well, then maybe not so much. Maybe if we're shooting them, we're managing the pack for their survival rather than letting them go and letting nature take its course, letting them infect each other, and and finding their demise that way. Like I said, when I moved here, we had coyotes here, and I'm sure there are probably a few out there, but they're nothing like they were when I moved here. There were a lot of coyotes here, and then just like that, they're gone. Okay, and we got cow pastures and calves and food sources here for them. And I think they probably wiped themselves out. That's something for you. I told that biologist that at that seminar, and he just looked at me with his mouth open. He said, "Wow, I never thought of that." I said, "Well, yeah, I did. I'm not a biologist by any stretch of the imagination, but like I've told all of you, that we become students of wildlife by association. I read, and study up and find things that are interesting and put them in my little memory bank and dig them up later and remember." I said, okay, well, that must mean something. So before you ruin your deer hunt, shooting a coyote and think you're doing justice, do it if you want. But think about, maybe you might be helping the pack rather than hurting them. And you go up to Ocala, and we spent the night up there last year, maybe it was the year before last, and I laid in my cot in that tent, and I listened to coyotes all night, and I thought to myself, wow, that is just absolutely awesome. My nephew Casey was sound asleep. I said, "Hey man, did you hear them coyotes last night?" He said, "No, I didn't hear nothing." That's what it means to be a teenager. But anyway, the last coyote that I heard was on my hog hunt last year. You remember the hog that I killed with my bow on opening day of bow season. I got out of the truck and I gathered all my gear, right? And I put on my backpack. And the minute I stepped into the woods, stepped off the road and into the woods into a little area there, coyotes started howling. I could hear 3, maybe 4 of them down in the tie-tie. And man, they were really sounding off. And it was late in the evening. And I just stopped and listened and thought to myself, man, that's pretty cool. Now, I would not push a button if I could and get rid of the coyotes. I like them. I like the atmosphere a coyote brings. I don't like the fact that they're violent. I don't like the fact that they kill my neighbor's cat and dog, and they might kill my dog if they got a chance at it. I don't like any of those things. And if it came down to it, yeah, I'd shoot a coyote in a minute, okay? But when you're in the swamp, 500,000 acres of swamp, and you're deer hunting, and you see a coyote and you think to yourself, you know what, I really don't want to shoot it, well then don't. I think it'll be okay. And I know a lot of hunt clubs have standing rules. If you see a coyote, you shoot it. Well, they may want to rethink that, because if they let those coyotes go, they'll take care of themselves. Nature will take its course, and they'll get sick and they'll die off. In my opinion, the lifespan of a coyote is probably 2 years, maybe 3 tops. And yeah, they get heartworms, distemper, rabies, parvo. The list goes on and on and on. Okay, and it doesn't seem that they're immune to anything. All right, they die off just like anything else. So that's my thought on coyotes, and yeah, I hope you'll think about it and comment and let me know what you think. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. See you. Bye.